Hey, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to go over my top 3 tips for intermittent fasting. So in this video, I'm going to give you the most important tips to ensure that you are successful with your intermittent fasting. Let's dive in now. You're driving me crazy, driving me crazy, driving me crazy. So what is intermittent fasting? It means there's a limited window of time that you are eating. It might be 6-8 hours, and in that window you eat all of your meals. Outside of that window, you are not allowed to eat at all. You can probably drink stuff though, that's okay. So the question is, why would you limit yourself? Well, the idea is that if you're eating all of your calories within a certain amount of time, you're gonna be full, and then outside of that window, you don't have to worry about food. And so you can maybe be more productive, you can get in some exercise, you can do whatever you want without having to worry about food. So tip number 1 is optimize your lifestyle and your stress. And what I mean by that is, let's take 2 hypothetical scenarios where we have an ideal situation for intermittent fasting, and then we have the worst situation to intermittent fast. In the first scenario, ideally you would be single, you wouldn't have kids, you probably wouldn't be married, you would have a job that allows you to eat whenever you want, where you wouldn't have a lot of pressure to eat or drink at certain times. And in this setup, you also have a not too busy lifestyle that allows you to eat all of your food within your prescribed window. Now, the worst case scenario would be just the opposite of that. Be someone who's not single, has at least 1 or multiple kids, is married or has a partner. That tends to mess with your schedule for eating. If you're eating and they're not, or they're eating, or you're eating and they're not, that tends to make life a little bit more complicated. And this person also may have a work environment that maybe people go out and get drinks afterwards, or they're always doing lunch at a certain location. All right, and then also on top of that, maybe you have a job where you're traveling a lot, so it can be hard to bring all of your meals with you. If you're crossing time zones, it can mess with your circadian rhythm and hunger and sleep, and it can be more stressful. And on top of that, if life is already stressful, so whether you travel a lot or not, if you just have a super busy lifestyle, it's more likely that hunger or cravings or just wanting to stress eat is going to bother you and mess with your intermittent fasting. So I want you to assess how close are you to the first best case scenario or the worst case scenario. And if you're more leaning on the worst case scenario, I would caution you to take it easy with intermittent fasting and try to make it compatible with if you're married or if you have kids or you have a busy job. You're probably gonna have to do a lot more planning in that case. Tip number 2 is optimize your genetics. So I'm the type of person where I can go for a while without eating. Even if I haven't done intermittent fasting for a while, it just doesn't bother me, all right? Let's take my wife. If my wife doesn't eat like every 4 to 5 hours, it's like, you better watch out here, man, because something might be, you might get a rock thrown at your head or something like that. Some individuals cannot tolerate eating after a certain amount of time. For those individuals, intermittent fasting probably isn't gonna work for you. But oftentimes, if you feel that you're the type of person where I have to eat this amount of time, and if you've done a fast before and you felt okay from it, chances are you might be able to adapt. Some people can, some people might not be able to do that. All right, but there's genetic factors that can influence our hunger. Some people don't mind being hungry for a little while. It doesn't really bother them, like myself. For other people like my wife, it is extremely bothersome. So that takes us into also how well you deal with a little bit of cravings, maybe a little bit of hunger. And some people can become a little emotionally irate with that, while other people, it almost seems to make them thrive and be a little bit more alert. Maybe their fight or flight or sympathetic nervous system is a little activated, so it might give them a little increased awareness and even focusness. So there's a lot of cool benefits to intermittent fasting that you have to see if they're gonna apply to you. Tip number 3 is optimize your exercise. If you're training for something like an Ironman or a triathlon, ooh, man, I would really wait until you're done with your full training schedule and competition before you do intermittent fasting, because you're gonna need so many calories, and you really wanna be eating like 5 to 10,000 calories within a 6 to 8 hour window. I mean, you could probably do it, but I don't know how comfortable it's gonna be afterwards. So in extreme exercise cases, you may want to either really extend that window if you are intermittent fasting, or not consider intermittent fasting at all. However, if you do conventional strength training and you do some cardio and your sessions are not too long and it fits nicely into your schedule, remember, it has to fit with your lifestyle and your total stress levels, then intermittent fasting is probably perfect for you. And one other tip, typically if you exercise either right before or afterwards, you're probably gonna wanna get something to eat. So if you have any questions, let me know. Please subscribe to that channel. Thanks for watching.
You're driving me crazy.